let's talk about incremental growth. Now, for most people, when they try to think about, personal growth, they're like, I want to get, 40% better, 50% better, 100% better within, like a week, a month or something. Now, the key is a lot of those people will end up quitting because they've set their expectations too high, and it's just unrealistic that you will achieve the expectations to which you have set. What we want to do is we want to look at things from an aspect of an incremental growth standpoint. Now, what it means by incremental is, small. We want something that's going to be gradual change, gradual results. So if we're looking at something to where we're trying to improve, like let's say we're trying to improve our reading ability, right? Instead of looking to make a 500% increase in our reading ability, if we just look at something from a perspective of, I just want to get 1% better each day. 1%. That's not a lot. I just want to gradually get 1% better today than I was yesterday. So, assume we were doing this every single day for a month. Averaging out month days, let's say it's 30 days. 30 days is what? 30 times 1, that's 30%. So in a month, you've gotten 30% better. 2 months, 60% better. 3 months, 90% better. 4 months, 120% better. That maths out, right? Yeah. The point is, if you're making small gradual changes, you're going to improve and stick with it for longer, as long as you don't look at it from a perspective of, man, I just got to immediately get better. I look at the same thing with exercise and weight loss. It's, instead of looking at it like, man, I need to lose, 20, 30, 40 pounds within a couple months. It's like, no, let me just think about this. Let me work on losing a pound or two a week. It's simple, it's gradual, but more than likely, I'm going to keep with it. Instead of just immediately going straight forward to the highest possible degree to which I can think of, and then just falling right back after doing it and failing. Because the more results you try to, see, and the more results you want faster, you can get addicted to it. And then you're not changing as much as you actually should be changing. You're not doing as much as you should be. You're not thinking as much as you should be. And that's kind of what I want to, grab home here is you need to make incremental changes to get the incremental growth. Don't try and reinvent the wheel. Don't try to, get those 50 to 100% changes done within like a day, a week, a month. Start small, start simple, and go from there. Now, what you want to do is you want to track that, see what you can do, and see, what kind of growth you are making, what kind of changes you are making. And then you might eventually reach a point where you plateau or reach some diminishing returns, and then you got to accustom that to some of the changes you have to make, which, again, takes time, takes experience, takes some knowledge, but you'll get there. You'll get there as long as you put the work in to do it. Now, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You don't have to recreate everything you've ever done. You don't have to think of it as some dark, overarching thing that's never going to happen, that you're never going to achieve. Don't think of it like that, because then it's going to affect the way you think about things. And you might end up quitting at that point if you try to think of it that way. So, what you can do is just take it slow. Take it easy, take it simple, think about things, think it through, and make a plan, and go from there. Here's my goal. I want to get 1% better. Here's what the 1% is. Here's the small little change I want to make. So if I'm trying to get 1% better at reading, maybe see if I can increase the amount of pages I can read in a day. Just by a small amountage. Like, man, I'm only able to read, 20 pages a day. Let's see if I can up that to 30 pages. That's a small incremental change. Let's see what we can do. Let's see what we can do to get better. Now, if we were like, okay, well, I can only read 20 pages a day, so let me increase the amount of pages I read in a day by 200. That's almost like the size of a book. Don't go to that extreme, because you probably end up quitting because you set the bar too high. But you don't want to set the bar too low either. You don't want to be like, you know what, let me just increase the amount of pages I need to read by 1. That might be a little too low. So try to see what incremental changes you can make to your life and see what you can do in terms of that. So that's all I have until I can get this into like a more in-depth discussion. So thank you for listening.